Celtics lose to the Milwaukee Bucks. It's not a big deal, though it does raise one question for the playoffs. Plus, the big story is Giannis Antetokounmpo gets hurt. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster brand, it's holiday season. Drop Drew in the mix, and 3 from KP. No, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Juice, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in Locked On after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and J's, how we started, raising business, how we finish. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day, Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts when they play on the weekends. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Become an everydayer. Join me on this ride on a daily basis. Love to have you join me. Love it if you hit the YouTube page, get into the comment section. Let me know what you think about what I say, about the game, about all this stuff. If you're new to the show and you don't know who I am, I'm John Karalis. I used to play ball a long time ago. Now I'm a beat writer covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase of last-minute tickets to games or concerts or whatever. Celtics lose this one, 104-91. You don't normally see the Celtics without triple-digit scoring, so 91, I think it's the third time this season the Celtics didn't score 100 points or more. So that's different. That's new. That's fun. File this one under a make-miss league, which I'll talk about in a little bit. My one playoff question kind of ties into that. That'll be much later. Let's start with the big story. The absolute big story out of this game has nothing to do with the Celtics necessarily right up front. Could have something to do with the Celtics as far as who do they play in the playoffs, because Giannis Antetokounmpo goes down in the third quarter with a strained calf muscle. It's the soleus. It's the long muscle down the side of the calf. It's if you listen to the show regularly, if you're one of my everydayers, you know, as soon as I say calf injury, you must be like, oh, damn, Karalis is going to be kind of like worried about this one. I say worried because I don't want to see anybody hurt, right? I don't want to see anybody injured. So I don't want Giannis Antetokounmpo to be hurt. I want him to be okay. I want every NBA player to be okay. Like, that should be everybody's baseline. I do not want any injuries. Even if the injury does benefit the Celtics potentially in any way, that's not the point here. So number one, I hope he's okay. I hope it really is just the calf strain and that maybe he's out for a week and he can get through the next few games, whatever. The Bucks aren't going to be. I think this win kind of solidifies them as the 2 seed anyway. If they can get through the play-in tournament stretch, obviously he won't be playing. They'll have a week off there. And if he's okay after that, great. That's great for them. If he's not, now things can change here, because there's a real chance that the Bucks could face a very tough opponent. Now, I did a breakdown on Boston Sports Journal about the playoff possibilities, and it really does feel like the 7-8 game is going to be Miami and Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia beats Detroit. Miami beat Atlanta in double overtime. So they're on the same, path there. It looks like it's going to be one of those two teams. Still some things to figure out, but because of tiebreakers and such, Indiana wins. So that's an important game for them. They stay ahead of the Sixers. As long as they can stay ahead of the Sixers, kind of up to Cleveland to figure themselves out. Regardless, Philly-Miami seems to be the matchup, 7-8. If Philly goes into Milwaukee without Giannis Antetokounmpo, there's a chance that Philly can beat the Bucks. right? If they've got Embiid and there's no Giannis for Milwaukee, all of a sudden Philly can get to the second round and they can take on a 3-6 matchup. 3-6 right here as of right now, as I'm recording it, it's New York and the Pacers. Boston takes on whichever the 8th seed is. If they get past that, 4-5 is Orlando and Cleveland. That should be okay for Boston. If that remains the case, then it could be Boston, Philadelphia in the conference finals, as opposed to Boston and Milwaukee, as we expect. That's the long range kind of impact that this Antetokounmpo injury has. And again, it's a calf injury. It's a strained calf. He's running down the floor. All of a sudden, he strains it and he goes down. He was just inbounding the ball. He was just jogging up the floor and he went straight down. Boom, no contact. That to me is scary. It wasn't, as far as we know, it wasn't any sort of Achilles injury, but calf injuries and Achilles injuries are often mistaken. It's unclear at the beginning. What they say is one thing is actually another. And I'm just kind of taking a quick peek. There's no weird like Woj or Shams report as of right now. It's just being treated as a strained calf. So, but like I said, if it could go down as a strained calf. And on NBC Sports Boston, they played the video of Kevin Durant. Same thing, same idea, strained calf. And next thing you know, he comes back and plays, and then he ruptures his Achilles tendon. That's not the path you want this to go down, because especially now, if that happens to Giannis now, it's going to happen in the playoff. He's going to miss like all of next season. He's going to come back at the end of next season. That has wide ranging effects on the entire Eastern Conference. So whatever happens with Boston in all of that, this injury can be either just the strained calf and, a week or two, and maybe he's okay and that's fine. But if it's a longer term thing, if it turns into something bigger, which I'm always afraid of when it comes to calves, then especially with a guy like his size too, it just puts a weird amount of torque on that tendon. I'm always afraid of that stuff. The impact of this could be wide ranging. All we can do is wait and see, but this injury could change the entire path, even if it's not a serious injury, even if it's just a few weeks, even if it holds him out for one series. If that series is against Philly, that could change the entire dynamic of the Eastern Conference. And maybe that makes it easier for Boston. That could be easily the case, because right now, Boston in their first round matchup, if Philly does advance and is the 7th seed and it's 2-7 Philly and Milwaukee, then the 8th seed is either Miami, Chicago, or Atlanta. I feel good about all of those teams. And maybe Chicago beats Atlanta, and maybe Chicago gets their revenge against Miami and actually beats them this time around and doesn't blow a late fourth quarter lead. And then it's Boston, Chicago, and I feel really good about that matchup. If it's Boston, Chicago in the first round, and then the winner of New York, Orlando and Cleveland, if form holds, then I feel good about that. And then if it's Philly in the conference finals, I feel really good about that, because Boston has Philly's number. And I think everybody in Philly would be like, I don't know, we're just waiting for the clock ticking on Joel Embiid. So I'm looking way, way ahead. But when Giannis goes down, the way he went down, non-contact injury, you can't help but think way ahead. So we'll see how that goes. Why don't we get into the game? Because there's not much to take from this game, but let's get into it just a tiny bit so we can kind of get that part out of the way, and I can get to my one playoff question later on. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Last minute tickets, frustrating experience buying those last minute tickets? Don't worry, get onto Game Time. Download the app, use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase of last minute tickets. Sports, concerts, comedy, theater, if they sell tickets to it, it's probably on Game Time. And Game Time just became an authorized dealer of MLB tickets. So The Red Sox, if you want to go and check out a Red Sox game, I know I know how the Red Sox are, but like maybe you want to go and it's spring, it's nice, it's baseball weather. Maybe you just got a day off and you just want to go chill out at Fenway Park, or you're a Boston fan, or you're a fan of some other park. Maybe you're not in Boston. Check out the Game Time app. You have a number of reasons to download the Game Time app. Last minute deals, you can save up to 60% off buying last minute tickets for all sports, concerts, comedy, theater, all those things. There are flash deals in the app on select seats ahead of the game, ahead of the event. There are zone deals where you can choose the section. Game Time chooses the seats. You can save even more. You know that there's all-in pricing. You can toggle this feature on, and there's no surprise fees at checkout. You can see the view from your seat. You get the lowest price guarantee. If you don't get the lowest price, you get 110% of the difference credited to you. And your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Go take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You get $20 off your first purchase. Again, the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKED, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Game Time, last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports today. Forget ESPN, forget Fox Sports, forget the fake arguments. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, news from the experts on the Locked On Sports network. It's free. It's 24/7 on YouTube. It's on the Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Of course, you know that. All right. The game itself was, blah. I'm not too worried about it. The Celtics came out cold. The Bucks came out hot. And it's kind of funny that they're in Milwaukee, and it's like the last time they were in Milwaukee, they got crushed. They didn't get crushed necessarily. They got down 19 early. The lead got to 24. They ended up losing by 13. Credit to the Celtics for, hanging around and still making it a game. It got to 11 at one point there in the third quarter. Jayson Tatum had a 13-point spurt. After Giannis goes down, there's a little bit of a comeback there. They never really threatened. So I think one of the things that you saw in this game was obviously make miss, right? The Bucks come out hot. Brook Lopez is 4 or 5 from 3 right away. He comes out blazing hot. Patrick Beverley is hitting shots late in the game to close things out. He was 4 of 8. You're not going to get a ton of games where Beverley and Lopez are shooting 9 of 16 from 3 combined, but it happens, right? You toss in 2 of 5 from Damian Lillard, that's 4%. You toss in 2 of 4 from Chris Middleton, that's 50%. You get the Bucks shooting 17 of 36. Now, the Celtics also hit 17 three-pointers, but 52 attempts. So it's a make-miss league situation. The Celtics couldn't quite get their footing down from 3. They came out cold. They got colder, and even though the Bucks leveled off a little bit down the rest of the game, they had the answers. The three-pointers they hit early on piled up the lead, and then the three-pointers they hit in the second, third, and fourth quarter especially, those were answer. Celtics made a little bit of a run. Milwaukee has the answer, and that's it. Celtics could never get their offense going. 91 points. Part of that was because Xavier Tillman was in the game. He's really a non-shooter. They gave him, they're going to live with him shooting 5 3-pointers. He was 2 of 5, which is nice. That's great, 40%. But they're going to give him, any team's going to give him those 5 shots because you just lay off of him. You bog down the paint. You don't let the Celtics drive. And when they did drive, they didn't get fouled. The Celtics shot 0 free throws in this game. I feel like I'm burying the lead a little bit. 0 free throws. Let me just take a side note here. Sidebar. 0 free throws is outrageous. And I'm going to lump in 1 of 2 from Milwaukee. 2 free throws for Milwaukee is outrageous. The fact that there were 2 free throws shot in this game is an absolute outrage. And I'm saying this with a smile on my face because it doesn't really matter. But you know what? When guys drive and they get fouled, that they need to be called. We need to see on film this was a foul. We need to get the immediate response from the officials. Like, yeah, the defense you played was good, no foul, or the defense you played was bad, that's a foul. You need to have that immediate kind of reaction. To let as much as they let go, it's ridiculous. The fact that there's only 2 free throws shot, I mean, I know that there are fewer fouls being called overall, but there were, let's see, the Celtics committed 8 fouls. The Bucks committed 4 all game. 1 shooting foul against the Celtics gave Giannis free throws. There was 1 shooting foul against the Bucks, but that was overturned upon review. So Jaylen Brown didn't get free throws. It turned out to be an offensive foul, which another side note, I'm really devolving here. Side note to my side note, the challenge has really taken away the concept of the makeup call, where that play, Jayson Tatum drives, they swallow the whistle, and it's like, wow, that was a lot of contact. We probably should have called something. The next time the ball gets to Jaylen, he kind of buries his shoulder, and they call a blocking foul. And I felt like, okay, that was a makeup call. Well, the Bucks had a challenge. I knew that challenge they were gonna win that challenge because I thought it was a makeup call anyway. And the call ended up going against Jaylen. It's like the refs don't have the makeup call at their discretion anymore, which kind of sucks. But get the call right in the first time, I guess. That's the answer. But I don't know. I'm irrationally bothered by 0 free throws for the Celtics and 2 free throws for the Bucks. I'm irrationally bothered by this. There's no way. Like, and I don't want parade to the line, but I want some like reward for drawing contact, getting to the rim. You know, I want to see some level of reward for that. If you don't call a foul, it's just more scrum, more bodies hitting the floor, more chances for somebody to get hurt. I just don't like it. And I want the immediate kind of reaction, the immediate response of like, you did play good defense. You didn't play good defense. You need to be punished for not playing good defense. I'm going to let it go because it didn't really matter. It seemed like the refs wanted to get out of there as quickly as Boston wanted to get out of there. So none of this matters necessarily, but I think this is something both Bucks and Celtics fans can agree on. The fact that the teams combined for 2 free throws is just ridiculous. But the Celtics offense overall, now had they gotten some free throws, they might have gotten to 100, but the offense was bogged down. They ran some lineups out there that you'd never see in the playoffs. The Tillman's inclusion, as much as I want to see more Tillman, and as much as he does do some good things, he does spring guys to get open. I think it's a more situational thing. And you can't, like, starting him against Lopez, an interesting experiment from Missoula, because you know that Lopez loves drop coverage, and you know that he's going to check Tillman, because that allows him to drop off somebody that's not going to hurt them necessarily. Even though he hit 2 of 5 from 3, who cares about two 3-pointers from Tillman? That's not going to change the game. What you give up in those 2, you get back in 0 of 6 from 3 for Jaylen Brown, and 3 of 9 from Derek White, and 2 of 8 from Pritchard, and 2 of 6 from Holiday. You know, not allowing the other guys to hurt you. That's what you get for allowing Tillman to shoot 5 of them. So what if he makes 2? That's not going to happen under normal circumstances. But in this situation, that's part of why the Celtics got bogged down and why they shot 52 3-pointers, because it's just not a lot of opportunity at the rim. Even though they got 93 shots and they won that margin, they got 12 offensive rebounds and they won that margin. They just, you know, again, part of that's the foul calls, not getting those calls. You probably could have gotten to the line a couple of times. And again, it doesn't make a difference. Like, I don't care that they lost, but That's why they got bogged down. Mazzulla wanted to take advantage of another opportunity here for an experiment. Unfortunately, the Celtics just couldn't get their heads into the right place to take advantage of what this make-miss league situation was in the first place. Joe said, hey, we're down. Look at us down here. 11 in the fourth quarter. Things aren't going our way. This is a great opportunity to play Tatum and Brown in this fourth quarter. It never worked out. And it leads to my one playoff question. I'll talk about that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, I'm a big proponent of therapy. I know that therapy can be very helpful, whether you're just trying to get through a tough day, or maybe you're trying to get through a tough stretch, or maybe you're trying to get past the tough part of your life that you've never dealt with before. BetterHelp is a way that can get you the therapy you need, convenient, flexible, designed to fit your schedule, entirely online. It does solve two major hurdles for therapy. One, finding somebody, because it's all online. You're not limited to somebody within your immediate area. And two, sticking with somebody because you're not quite clicking. Very easy to give up on it. With BetterHelp, because it's all online, you can go to another therapist. You can go to the next person or the next person or the next person, and it doesn't matter. You can just keep on switching until you find somebody that clicks, and now you can get the benefits of therapy from somebody that you trust and you have a good rapport with. That's where you get the most out of it. So give BetterHelp a try. It's BetterHelp, HELP.com. Go betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. You'll get 10% off your first month. It's a great way to start therapy. Give BetterHelp a try. Online, flexible, suited to your schedule. BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA for 10% off your first month. Thank you for checking out Locked On Celtics. Go check out the Locked On NBA podcast covering the entire league as a whole. Fun times, rotating hosts all week. I'll be back next week. So me and Jake will be back on our Wednesday show. So go check out Locked On NBA, wherever you got this podcast. Watch it on YouTube. So my one playoff question. Celtics have they're within striking distance, right? They never got it down below 11, but Tatum has a big third quarter. They make a run. Joe Mazzulla says, you know what? I'm going to stick with these guys. Let's go. Let's get the starters out. Let's get Jaylen out there. Let's get Jayson out there. Now, they weren't in the right frame of mind, but my one playoff question, I wrote this on Boston Sports Journal. It's basically, what happens when a team goes Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, right? What happens when the Milwaukee Bucks go Brook Lopez, who can hit three-pointers? It's not as big a surprise, but 4 or 5 in the first quarter is a little ridiculous. Pat Beverly going, 4 of 8 and hitting a bunch of game-sealing three-pointers in the fourth quarter. That's a bit ridiculous. So what happens when that happens in the playoffs? Will it even happen in the playoffs is also a question, because right now, as I said, with no Kristaps Porzingis, that was a big deal. No Kristaps Porzingis. He would have changed this game, obviously, because it wouldn't have been Tillman out there. It would have been Porzingis, and you can't really help off of Porzingis. That would have changed who got certain shots, and it would have made things a little bit more stressful for the Bucks. Horford being out there, same deal, and Horford, obviously the defense would be a little bit different with those guys out there. So maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe this is just a moot point. Maybe I'm asking a question just for the sake of asking a question. And I asked the question because the Celtics haven't been in this situation a lot. To be, as Joe put it after the game, they haven't had a lot of opportunities where nothing is going right for them to try to take advantage of that. Now, Jaylen and Jayson, their heads weren't there. They weren't in the minds, the headspace to take advantage of this. Ideally, they would have, and everybody would have been like, oh, okay, we're going to flick a switch. We're going to turn it on here. Let's see what we can do here in this situation. They weren't in that frame of mind. Jayson Tatum, before the game, was in warmups. They ran the clip, the mic'd up clip on TNT, where he's like, next time we get on a plane, it'll mean business, which the implication is this time that we got on the plane didn't mean business, and it didn't. They played like it, and that's fine, right? Like I'm not sitting here at all complaining about a loss. Like who cares about the loss? But, I am curious about what happens for the Celtics when the other team is 8 of 10 in the first quarter and you can't quite get it going and you never can get it going. How do you bounce back? How do you get out of that? Because it's going to happen at some point. And maybe because of the Celtics' talent, it's not that big of an issue. It's not even a question that needs to be answered. The answer could simply be, hey, the other team gets hot, you get cold, you lose a game. And it's a 7-game series. You're going to lose theoretically 2 or 3 in a good, tightly contested series. Maybe that's how you lose 1 or 2 of them. As long as you win 4, then okay, that's fine. Like that is actually fine. You're going to lose. Think about the conference finals, right? Any conference finals. Theoretically, you're going up against the second best team in the conference. No matter how good Boston is, you're going to lose a game, 2 games, maybe 3 games. So who cares if you lose them by 50 or you lose them by 5? As long as you win the other 4, you're fine. So maybe it doesn't matter. But my question that is, just kind of comes out of the Bucks shooting really, really well and the Celtics not shooting well at all in this game is, okay, I'd like to see this. I wish the Celtics were in the frame of mind where they could have snapped out of it and made a real serious run and maybe gotten this to a tie game. And, Milwaukee could sit there and be like, well, we didn't have Giannis, and that would have been legit because it's not about the win or the loss. I just wanted to see how the Celtics respond. How did they play? Right. And, it's one of those things that in the short term doesn't matter. In the long term, it might not matter either. So that's why I kind of saved it for last. It is a question though, because we just saw that Miami series last year. If a team has an outlier series, which is possible, how do the Celtics snap out of that? Could be as simple as, hey, we're going to go to some post-ups. We're going to mix things up. We're going to really hammer the rim. Or if they're not giving us the rim, we're going to hammer them from 3 because we got a bunch of shooting and we can go to our shooting lineups without putting Tillman or going super small, which the Celtics did. They put Tatum at center for a little bit. And after the game, Joe Mazzulla was like, yeah, we just had, one center out there. So we just needed somebody. And I threw 5 guys out there who could shoot. And Tatum was my center. Big, like he's like, yeah, I'm downplaying it. Maybe he's downplaying it for a reason. And it's actually going to be a big part of what they do. Who knows? But anyway, it is a question. I want to know what happens when the Celtics are faced with a super hot shooting team where one guy gets hot and the rest of the guys catch fire. And how do you get out of it? We haven't seen it much this season. We didn't see a response in this Milwaukee game. Maybe you'll get it in one of these upcoming games. New York, Charlotte, who's that other game? Completely forgot who the Celtics are playing in that third game. Wizards. It's the Knicks, it's the Hornets, it's the Wizards. I don't know. I'm going to bet they go split squad, Knicks and Hornets. So maybe it's the Wizards game that they go full bore, all out. I don't know. One of those games, maybe the Celtics go 35 minutes for their regulars one more time. Maybe they don't. Hard to say. See if Joe Mazzulla, I tried to ask Joe Mazzulla if he had a plan the last time before the Blazers game. And he was like, yeah, we'll just see. We're going to play it by ear. Okay. You got a plan. You just didn't want to tell us. Whatever the plan is, whatever happens, I'll be here for you. So make sure you're subscribed, watch the show on YouTube, listen to the show however you want to listen to it, whatever you're doing, driving to work, getting ready for work, at work. I'm not going to tell your boss. Put it on in the background. Put it on YouTube. Put it on a background tab. Listen to it on one of your earbuds. However you want to do it, just listen, just watch, and just share the podcast. Spread the word. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.